my last day at front sight today, and let me show you something. Look at that line of cars. There's even more ahead of me. We're all just anxious to get started. Hey my YouTube friends, Lay Boy Scout here, and this is my front sight vlog day 4. So let's get into it. Let's talk about what I did on my last day at front sight. Went straight into it, straight to the range, and worked on our fundamentals, worked on all the things we've been learning and practicing from day 1 to day 3. Just started digging into all of it. Dry fire drills, that is to say presenting from the holster, dry firing, tactical reloads. A tactical reload is what you do when there's a lull in the gunfight. So a tactical reload simply means that you've taken a few shots due to adrenaline or whatever. You're not sure how many shots you've taken, so you want to be sure and top off. And a simple way to do that is, first, with your support hand, check to make sure you have a new magazine. Then eject your current magazine, pocket it, grab one of the new magazines, insert. Don't bother racking because you've already got one in there. It's a lull in the gunfight. You're not replacing anything. You just insert it and back to low ready or high ready or whatever the case may be. Point it in, whatever. The other reload is the emergency reload. The emergency reload is what you might also encounter in a gunfight when you actually run out of ammunition. You run out of bullets. And that, of course, on any semi-automatic pistol means that the slide is locked to the rear on a empty magazine. And the emergency reload is, you need to, as soon as you recognize that, you raise your gun up to look and see what it is. Then you step aside. So you look, move, grab the new magazine, the new one comes up, the old one drops out like this, and rack and back into action. Okay, so that's an emergency reload, and we worked on that. We also worked on malfunction drills. Type 1 is a dead round in the chamber, or a non-extracted round, or whatever the case may be. But your slide is closed, okay, it's forward there, and you basically press the trigger and it goes click. We simulated that by having a loaded magazine in the gun, but an empty chamber. So we raise up, press, click, at that point, tap, rack, and then back into action. So that's the type 1 malfunction. Type 2 malfunction, brass high. Brass high means you've got a stovepipe or something like that. We simulated that again by first locking the slide back, taking a live round, setting it down inside the chamber, easing the slide forward to lock that live round in there, then putting a loaded magazine into the gun. And to clear that, it's simple. It's very much the same. Tap, rack, but at this point you need to flip it. Okay, and that's just to get gravity's help in getting rid of that old round. In fact, flipping it is a good idea for the first malfunction as well. Type 3 brass low is much more complicated, and your situation in that case is you've got a round in the chamber, basically a failure to extract, and then a magazine full of ammunition. Your gun has tried to strip a new round off to insert it into the chamber, but with that empty casing in there, it can't do it obviously, so you're locked up. So for that type 3, your gun goes click, you look, you move, you look to recognize what the problem is. You move aside to take cover and deal with it. You bring a hand down to verify you have a replacement magazine. Then you bring your hand back up. You lock the slide back. You strip the current magazine. You rack, rack, rack to clear it. Then you bring the new magazine up, insert, and rack, and back into action. That's the type 3, that's how you clear that. And we had to do that pretty fast. Okay, they actually, it was timed, and we had to work on that and get it done really quickly. In that exact order, could not mess it up. So after we worked on those fundamentals, we also worked on some reset drills. Reset drills meaning working on the reset of the trigger. On a Glock, for instance, you need to trap that trigger back when you take a shot. Trap it backwards, and this is a bad habit that I need to overcome. Trapping it backwards, meaning holding your finger back, keeping that trigger backwards. And then when you bring it back on target, you ease that trigger forward until it resets, and that's when you begin to press it again. Okay? So worked on that for a while. We also worked on headshots. Just standalone headshots, designated headshots. Shortly after that, we talked about multiple adversaries and how to deal with them. Now, we only kind of scratched the surface on this subject, but it was still pretty interesting, and we talked about some stuff that made a lot of sense to me because it was already kind of intuitive. It already sort of made a little bit of sense. One of the things that our instructor made clear is that when you're dealing with multiple adversaries, it's kind of like dinner time with the big family. Everybody gets served once before they get seconds. So everybody gets one shot first, then you can follow up as needed. And also there were headshots mixed in there. And what we did was we made some designations on all the targets at the end of the range, and from different distances worked on dealing with multiple threats. First with 2 at a time, 1 to each target, then 3 at a time, 1, 2, 3 to each target, 4 at a time, 1, 2, 3, 4. And of course they would call headshots randomly. We didn't know when they were going to do it, and they would just say, you know, headshot 1, and then we'd have to, using our imagination, kind of pick a target that we think needed a headshot and take it down. That's the headshot drill is basically the failure to stop drill, because we're not there to kill our opponent, we're there to stop them. And if they're determined enough, they may continue coming at you after 2 shots to the thoracic cavity, in which case you need to take one to the cranial ocular cavity to turn their lights out. After we did some more trigger reset drills, we did a 1 ragged hole drill, which was fun, but I didn't do as well as I did the day before. Still pretty good though. The 1 ragged hole drill, like I showed you yesterday, is just a couple of squares on the target, and we took our time with it. It was not timed. We just wanted to work on our trigger reset skills and trigger control, sight alignment, sight picture. Those 3 secrets that help you get maximum accuracy. The last thing we did before lunch was shoot a man-on-man contest, and that was really fun. We actually brought out some steel targets. We had a nice hostage taker target where there was a hostage and a swinger plate behind it. There was a hostage taker, and then we had some other dropping steel targets behind those. They were also silhouettes, and the drill was to, as soon as they said go, draw, fire on the hostage taker without hitting the hostage, and then hit the other 2 opponents in a designated order. And we actually did this as, it was very cool, very fun, as a sort of elimination contest for the entire class. So that was cool. And you know, it made it a lot more fun, a little bit of a challenge. We kind of got to take each other on and see what each other were made of, and that was, you know, that's just fun, you know, that's just a good time. I think I got to the 2nd round of eliminations is all. Didn't do that well. I would have done better, but, well, this is an excuse, but basically I got a bad grip on my gun the second time when I brought it up. It screwed everything up for me. I ended up hitting the hostage and losing that round. So after one person was designated as the winner for our class, that guy actually went up against the winner from another class, and our winner won, so that was cool. I was happy about that. You know, just leads me to believe that our instructors were the best. And, you know, they think they were too. They're really cool guys. I loved our instructors. Man, they were just awesome guys. Oh man, I might tell you more about them. After our lunch break, we got right back into it, doing all those drills over again, preparing for the skills test. And this was the last big thing of the day and the culmination of everything we learned in our 4 days at Frontside. So we basically spent a few hours after lunch just cramming for that skills test, going over all of everything we learned, everything that we needed to know. Obviously, in order, this was a real test, so we had to do a certain, get within a certain range within a certain time, a certain area in a certain time. And if you got outside of that range and outside of that time, you were deducted points. So we spent all that, about 2 or 3 hours after lunch working on everything that we were going to be tested on in the actual, with the actual beeping times that we needed to stay within. And that was a real challenge. And I realized what a real challenge it was, with not only the shots, but also the clearing drills, the reload drills, all that important stuff that we worked on. All of it was timed and all of it had to be perfect. And in order for you to graduate or graduate as a distinguished graduate. And so when the test came around and we actually did our execution of that test, it took another couple hours to get through it all, going in different waves with all the students and taking our time and getting through the whole thing. But when all was said and done, at the end of the day, there was no distinguished graduates in the whole group. And in order to become a distinguished graduate, you had to have, I think, 90% of all the points that you could get from that test. So there was no distinguished graduate. And to be a graduate, I think it was something like 70 to 80%. And in the group of 36 or 38 of us, there were only 3 graduates. Only 3. And I was not one of them. But I'm proud to say that test was hard. And I don't mind the fact that I was not one of the graduates, because that tells me Frontside is legit. These guys don't mess around. And they don't just throw out graduation certificates to everybody that shows up and pays the tuition fee. You've really got to accomplish something to become a Frontside graduate. And a distinguished graduate, you've really, really got to know your stuff. You've really got to get it down. You've really got to work on it. And I think the 3 people that did actually graduate were returned students. So that was also comforting, since this was my first time there. So all the rest of us, like I said, 30 plus, we all got certificates of achievement, but no graduation certificate. However, I'm happy with that, because all the skills I've learned, I can work on when I get home. Okay, so whether I nailed them in the right amount of time or not, got them perfect or not, I know them. And if I slow down and study them and work on them, I know every step. I know what I need to do. All the information is in my head. I've taken notes on all of it. I've given it to you. I know all the information. Now it's just a matter of working on all that, making it perfect, making it fast. So, in closing, Frontside is legit. Those guys work you hard, and they expect perfection and speed. Yeah, they do sort of pat you on the back and say, good job, you finished, way to go, we love you, thanks for coming, please come back, all that stuff. But they don't give graduation certificates to just anybody, and that makes that certificate valuable and real. I'm the Late Boy Scout. Thank you so much for joining me on this Frontside adventure, this Frontside vlog. It's been a lot of fun. I'm really, really glad I did it. Thank you to my buddy ZombieTactics for hooking me up with a voucher to go to Frontside. Buddy, you've made a big difference in my life and in my abilities, my skill set. And this is going to stay with me for a long time. And I hope I can make it back to Frontside in the future. We'll just see about that. I want the skills to build, and I will definitely work on everything I learned in the future, and I'll try to share as much of that as I can with all of you. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.